Hello there, it's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee. Now today I'm going to do a man's t-shirt. Now you're going to need a sewing machine that can do either a stretch stitch or a very loose zigzag stitch, and I've got that all set up to go. And also it's really quite hard to do it without an overlocker. It's just this fabric, it needs, well, I think it needs an overlocker, so if you can borrow one or you have one, then do it. Okay, so what I have here is fabric and then cut round a man's t-shirt to size if you've got one, but it's a lot easier that way. Make sure that all the fabric is flat before you cut, and I would recommend using the thickest fabric that you can find. It's just so much easier. Now I've done two identical shapes, the back and the front, and then I've pushed the inside corner down and then cut around the front neckline. So yes, that's the minimum you need. You could use a machine that you could do a double needle stitch, but instead of doing a double needle stitch, all I'm going to do is stitch it twice, so that, and we do that so it lays flat. Okay, let's get this sewn together. So very simple. I'm going to go over the shoulder panel and then I'm going to go down the side. So, and in fact what I'm going to do is line these two pieces of fabric that were cut at the same time, so we know that they're the same size, and trim as I go, so when you are cutting you don't need to worry about a large amount of hem allowance. Even 1/4 of an inch is fine. So this is the line of the shoulder. Then I'm going to take the two bits at the underarm, get the right garment, okie dokie. It would be terrible to go wrong so early on in the make, wouldn't it? And then I'm going to just line them up from the bottom. I'm not going to take the garment out of the machine. All I'm going to do is just continue sewing and put that in. Now I bought this overlocker second hand. I don't adjust the stitches, I don't really do much with it. I rethread it, and in fact I do tend to keep the same colour threads in for most of my sews. So that's half of the main body sewn. I'm going to take one of these sleeves now. I'm going to fold them inside out, and then I'm going to sew at the long line, which is the seam at the underarm. Okay, so just lining them up, trying not to stretch the fabric as I sew. And then I'm going to do a couple of stitches to take all these three lines off. I'm going to turn the sleeve inside out. And I'm going to place the top of the sleeve at this shoulder line. So intentionally what I've done is I've got right side to right side. Now if you do need to sort of line it up, check it and check that you've got it the right way round, then do. It's best to do that than sew it wrong. Now what I've got here is the two seams at the underarm. So let's shake that through just to make it slightly easier, and then I'm going to put it into the machine. All I'm going to do is sew a couple of inches so that I know it's secure. Then I'm going to take the top again and I'm going to place that at the upper seam joint. So, and then it's a matter of literally sewing around the circle. Now what you don't want is to sort of cut it and sew so that you've got big bits gaping through, but you just need to place the sleeve on the main garment and sew round. So very, very, very simple. It is, yeah, it's a godsend really, isn't it? So I'm slowly bringing the rest of the garment round, and with any luck, well, okay, with any luck it will join up at the bottom. What I'm going to do now is I'm about 5 inches from the bottom, and I'm going to make sure that these line up now, so that if I do need to gather slightly, then I can push either excess in or hold the bottom one back. So I'm going to re-stitch over my stitches so that I know it's completely covered, and then that's half the garment done. Very, very simple. So I'm going to pause the camera and do the other half of the garment, and then we're going to change machines. So welcome back. What we have here is we have the finished hem. Now to start the hem, what I'm going to do is fold once, fold twice, and then I'm going to sew. Now I have the machine set up on a zigzag, but the loosest setting that you can get on a zigzag. If I just did straight stitches and we pulled it, then you'd literally just break the thread, so not good, not good. And yeah, it is a case of pick a spot, because it's a circle, and just keep going round. And then when you get to the other stitches, the first lot of stitches, then stop. Now, I'm using different coloured thread on the bobbin and the top, just so that I hope you can see the difference. So yeah, that's it. I'm just about to come back where I started. When you are doing this, you have to make sure that this one doesn't get caught up in your sewing. Yeah, which is fine. So yeah, I'm going to just carry on till I get back to the beginning. So on this one, I've gone all the way round and I've finished, and now I'm going to turn it inside out and I'm going to pick a spot. Now I'm going to line it up so that the previous stitches are in line with the foot, because it does need to be close, but it is kind of, you do want to catch both layers of the seam. So if we carry on going round, you can see that I've sewn the first one in the paler colour, and then I've turned it over, so the paler colour is now my top stitch. And again, I just keep going round till I get back to my previous stitches. So that's great. That's how we do both sleeves and the bottom. How we do the top is, on most t-shirts, it's got sort of a binding hem, and so we're going to do that. Now, first of all, I'm going to turn the garment back inside out. I know I seem to be making a hash of that, but sometimes it's a bit... and I'm going to trim my ends there. This is just the thread from the serger. That one's a bit more dramatic. It's just so that I don't get bulky bits, really. Now I have a strip here, and this is a good 2 inches wide. I'm going to take the strip and I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to open out the neckline, and I recommend that you start 1/4 of a way along the back. This is just so that if you put it exactly in the centre of the back, then the join would be very visible, or if you put the join in the front. So all I've got is one layer of the opening, and the rest of it I can put through, and then my 2-inch strip just lying on top. And I recommend that you put the smaller item always on the top, just because. Okay, so I will cover my cotton. Lovely. And I'm still on my either stretch stitch or zigzag stitch. Now, most of the time when you buy a packet of needles, there's a selection, and I would thoroughly recommend that you go with the finest needle that there is in the selection pack. It just pierces through the fabric, and it's just better to sew. So I'm just coming around the seam, so I have to pay a little bit more attention, making sure the garment, when I say making sure the garment doesn't fall on the floor, it's not a concern of it getting dirty or the dogs sitting on it, because they would do that. It's a concern of I don't want it to pull the stitches. And of course, if you stretch this fabric whilst you're sewing, you're just making life a bit harder for yourself. Okay, and there's no way to speed this up. I just have to sew, stop, sew, stop. Okay, so now I didn't measure my strip, because I never do. I make sure it's long enough, and then I will sew it, and then I will trim it afterwards. So, you know, I just cut a length of the ream, so 60 inches. But that's just me. And then I'm going to take this out. I'm going to turn the whole garment the right way round, and what I'm left with is this, yeah? So, you know, if you were making goth t-shirts or something, that's fine, you can just leave it, but I'm not. So I'm now going to fold over this hem, and what I'm going to try and make sure I do is that I'm trying to make sure that I don't show any of this, yeah? So what I've done is I've sealed in my ends, and I am now sewing. So I'm going to go all the way round, each time folding and adjusting every couple of inches, and then I'm going to go around again. Now I suppose this collar is the most difficult, and the nice thing about making men's t-shirts, you know, that standard sort of, I think, you know, women can wear them as well, is that you are able to use the same cloth all the way round, and it just makes life that much easier, because you can buy a piece of cloth and make a full garment. Whereas if you were going to make something like a golfing shirt, you would have to find the collar, the different ribbing and everything else like that. And I think it would just make life a bit harder. So what I'm doing now, the reason I've stopped is because I was just fiddling around with the loose end of the beginning and the start. And I wanted to get that right so that I could just carry on sewing and just ignore it, really. So now that's done, that's fine. Okay, coming up to a shoulder seam. So, and then I'm back at the beginning. Now the reason that we sew all our hems twice is so that they don't roll. So it is an artistic thing. And there we are. Let me hold it by the shoulders, and you can see that it is rolling slightly. So now what I'm going to do is, whereas when I did the bottom and the sleeves, I lined it up with this side of the foot. This time I'm going to line it up with this side of the foot. and I know, not very exciting really. I still have to make sure that I don't get anything under the sew line, and I just have to keep going around again. So it is a very simple garment. Stretch fabric is notoriously hard. It just is. I always find that if I don't stretch it, if I treat it with respect, there's not too much of a problem. I was just going over the seam there, so it sort of jumped. And yeah, enjoy it. So when you're buying fabric, go for the thickest t-shirt material you can have. And yeah, really enjoy. And it is nice for the male members of your family to have something, because traditionally pillowcase dresses and little bags are very easy for us to make. So, alright, well, I'm going to finish the hems around the sleeves, but other than that, the garment is pretty much finished. So thank you ever so much for watching. My name's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee, and please like, share and subscribe. There we are. I know, all done. Alright, thank you ever so much.